Welcome to the Playing the Field podcast. I am Maria Serrao, and joining me from his super secret location all the way on the East Coast is our baseball pro, Doug Hughes. Doug, how's it going over there?
It's Washington, D.C. I'm giving myself up.
Oh, no, you're giving it up now?
Don't send people after me like the last time they did that crummy show and you sent people and my wife was mad. Stop. I'm going to try to do better.
We'll try. Now, for just in case everyone out there watching doesn't know this, even though Doug is a baseball pro, before that, he had a real job and he was actually an attorney. And so you might be able to help us out today in addition to your baseball knowledge, because this Ohtani story is turned into the event, and the baseball season hasn't even, well, it sort of started, but it's bigger than everything else. So in case you've been living under a rock, or maybe you've been asleep for the last 4 days and haven't heard about it, Shohei Ohtani is the big story. So let's just dive in, Doug, because what we know so far is basically that I'll read a little bit just about what we know. When the Dodgers started their season in Korea, which was last week, it came out that Shohei's interpreter, his name is Eppei Mizuara. So if we want to be show-offy, I'll say
not so much of a show-off. Eppei, I try to remember
Eppei.
that. My front porch is made of Eppei. It's an awesome Brazilian wood.
Perfect. Okay.
Not an interpreter, but Eppei. We're going with Eppei, and yeah, this story has bumped all other stories off the sports page. Let's go with it.
It has. Okay, Eppei had a serious gambling problem. In fact, well over $4 million. He was in the hole. There are two conflicting stories from Eppei, and we're going to go through both of them. The first one, this was all started from an ESPN reporter who I believe was doing research on this bookie in Orange County, who may or may not have had names of athletes on a list, maybe in his little book. And she was doing the story, and then one of the names popped up, of course, bigger than ever, and that was Ohtani, because the payments that he was eventually getting came from Ohtani's account. Okay, so what we find out is there were calls made the first day they were in Korea. One to Shohei's agent, Nez Balelo, who went out and hired what was the name of the guy he hired? He hired a crisis communications spokesman.
Maria, I just want to point out, as a lawyer, I am still licensed. These disciplinary proceedings take forever to conclude. I am still licensed, and just because you have a call that could be a wrong number, Maria. All right, they got a call to an agent, and then okay, keep going. I'm just thinking out loud, because this story is not going to get any better the more you tell the story.
It really isn't going to get any better, but the call went to him first, which really confuses me. I'm going to wrap this up and we'll dig a little bit deeper. What ended up happening was they found out that Ohtani's name was in this bookie's book, okay? And then it comes out that Eppei says, I got in trouble. I was gambling. It wasn't Shohei. It was me. And I asked Shohei for help. He gave me $4 million in $500,000 increments, which he paid to the bookie. And then, of course, the Dodgers find all this out. And the next day, Eppei comes back and says, Shohei knew nothing about it. He didn't even know I took the money. I took it on my own. And Shohei
in fact, Shohei has never met me. Sorry, I'm just jumping in.
And Shohei has never met. Right, exactly.
The story annoys me. Keep going. I'll try to let you go. It jumps at me sometimes.
This is the problem that I have, is if, let's just say, for giggles, that this all happened and Shohei doesn't know anything about it. My question is, does Eppei have access to Shohei's checking account or whatever accounts people have these days? Does he pay his bills? Does he have the password? How did he get the money out of the account into the account of the bookie without Shohei knowing?
So scenario one, because we have several different stories, and this is what I'm so chapped about. If you're caught in some kind of scandal, rule one, come up with a story and make it plausible. 2, stick with it. And then 3, going back to number 1, it helps if it's true.
Is this that plausible deniability thing? Are you going to teach us about that?
Never understood plausible deniability. It's something's either true or it's not. But here they started out. The first story we heard was, "Oh my goodness, Shohei's been robbed. He's been robbed at gunpoint, and $4.5 million is missing. Where is it? Who took the $4.5 million?" And then he had authority to take it. So let's look at rules of agency. You're asking me a legal question. Let's say you authorize me to pay your bills. You're
Right.
busy, and
I
I'm
don't
out.
have time.
I'm a guy who drives kids around and mows the lawn,
There you go.
and says I used to be a lawyer to save what tiny bit of pride I have remaining in my sad life.
Hey, but you are still a sports expert. So there you go, Doug.
Like I said, what tiny bit
forever.
what tiny bit I have remaining in my life. You authorize me as your agent to pay your bills. I can do your dry cleaning. I can put gas in your car. I do your bidding. I'm your agent. That's within the scope of my agency.
Okay.
I am, as far as the bank is concerned, allowed to go into your account and take money. The bank doesn't say, "What are you doing, Doug? Where are you going? What kind of dry cleaning? Is it the blue dress?" I'm either in or out. But in terms of you, then what you've authorized me to do, what I am legally allowed to do for you, the scope of my agency is what you and I have privately agreed on.
Yes.
And Eppei has probably been allowed to do all the normal stuff, what I just talked about, the dry cleaning, the gas, other stuff for Shohei paying his bills. He's not been authorized to take $4.5 million. And let me just say, this $4.5 million, it's been made out to be a big deal. This morning, my wife yelled down. She said, "Doug, did you take $4.5 million out of my account?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And then I remembered. I said, "Oh, yeah, I did. I made a Costco run yesterday, and I needed the $4.5 million." It's a lot of money. It's a lot. It's a big hunk of money.
It's a few Costco trips, not too many, but a few.
I don't know. You've been to Costco lately? It's
yes, I have.
Hard to get out of there. Anyway, he's authorized. He's either authorized to go into Shohei's account and take money out as a general matter or not. How much and for what depends on what they've agreed to. And this is where their story needs to be straight, and it helps if it's true, and it needs to be consistent.
Then let's go back to the original story that he did tell the ESPN reporter first. And that's how that even happened to me is if the story is right, that Nez set that up, I really, or maybe the crisis expert, I just don't even understand it because the Dodgers would never, ever have allowed that. But that's kind of beside the point. He said that he went to Shohei and said, "Look, I'm in trouble. I have gambled many millions of dollars." Maybe he said they're going to come and beat me up. I'm just making that up. I don't know if he really said that, but he said, "I need help. Can you help me?" And according to the first story, Shohei said wasn't happy, but he said, "Yes, I will clean up your mess for you." And that's the end of it. Okay.
How much is it, Eppei? $500, $750? How bad is it?
Yeah. So
it's $4.5 million.
Right? Yeah. We're talking about quite a bit more money than that. So if that's the case, and Shohei had nothing to do with this other than he made the payment for him, how much trouble is he in?
Well, when you say made the payment, there's the issue of to whom. I'm going to use proper grammar since
to the bookie.
Legal questions. If he gives the money, hands it privately by check, by whatever means, to Eppei.
These guys don't know what checks are. Remember?
I'm dating myself. My God.
Me too.
Well, this is
safe way to do it. Money.
Ooh, let's become like a movie, bearer bonds. However you transfer it, whatever Ohtani does.
A wire. I think it's a wire transfer.
Whatever he does to give money to Eppei, that's between the two of them. That's fine. Okay. He can do for whatever, the dry cleaning,
right.
He can make a private transfer. That's no problem. The problem, and in particular, it's a problem in California, is it sounds like Ohtani, allegedly, Ohtani has transferred the money directly to an illegal betting mechanism source. And that doesn't fly. You can't do that. You can't. That, and you guys are tough with your laws out there. California has laws out the yin yang on stuff the rest of us haven't even thought about. You guys have completely,
but not the regular laws. The regular laws everybody can break, but these very strange laws written somewhere else, you don't break those.
It's amazing what all California has regulated, and this is one of them.
That's one of them, but also it's bad for legal reasons and for baseball legal reasons. Is that right?
As I understand it, yes.
Here's the thing that I find really interesting, and you and I had this conversation about the fact that for baseball, we've got scandals that have happened over, 100 years.
Oh no.
I know. Can you believe it? And I think for baseball, this is such a bad look, which let's face it, Ohtani is part of the global brand. They went to Korea for their first two games of the season. They played the Korean teams while they were there. They want so badly to have MLB as this global brand, but at the same time, they are advertising for DraftKings and these betting website places. I don't know. I've never been on any of them, but in the stadiums, and this goes across the board for all sports. So where's the hypocrisy is strange.
It's funny you mixed up hustle and hypocrisy. Yeah, it's all the same hypocrisy, hypocritical, and I've heard that word with my college classmate Rob Manfred before.
Yes.
And I was going to digress to that. It's when you asked me if you'd asked me in college what my dream job was, it was commissioner of Major League Baseball, and had I
and now you're like, I'm glad I don't have that job. By the way, he was in Korea. This is another very interesting tidbit. He said that when he got to Korea before the game started, he learned that something was happening concerning Ohtani. Didn't say a word about what it was. This was before Eppei said anything. So did Nez Balello call Rob Manfred and say something has broke, or I don't know. I mean, but he did know something.
This he did correctly, and what I was going to say was, had I looked to my left or right, I would have seen Rob in the library planning to be MLB commissioner, which I wanted to do and did nothing to make happen, and obviously did not get close. Rob studied all the time, was not particularly popular, but then he went on to Harvard Law School, and he knows to keep his mouth shut. So he didn't say anything. Yeah. I heard something about Ohtani. Can't say what. Got to run, which is what everybody anywhere near this should have done. So the fact that people are giving interviews as a lawyer, your client is accused of something, there are whispers about something, and your client says, I think I'll give an interview on this. You say, well, you don't say anything. You just strike him into unconsciousness so he can't talk. And if you've watched Suits, if you watched any legal show,
I mean,
you shut up. You shut up.
And I don't even understand. Shut
up. I'm not even letting you talk. That's how careful I am. Shut up. Maria, shut up. Shut up.
I mean, honestly, I don't know why Eppei would have spoken to an ESPN reporter.
That's one of the very few things in this that makes me think there's not guilt. The fact that it seems so obvious and so clear to not talk if you've done something wrong. But this, again, could be a cultural difference. Eppei is saying he had no idea that sports betting was in some situations illegal, that it was illegal to do from California. I don't know what all he doesn't know. I don't know what he knows. No one does. Only he knows what he knows and doesn't know.
Yeah.
But he's saying he didn't know. And the fact that he's forthcoming about that is the one little tiny sliver of things that I think indicates maybe there's not guilty, or everything else smells like a fish that's been in the sun for 4 days.
Doug, is this, when you look at the whole scenario of this, is this too much shelter? Because let's face it, for the last 6 years at the Angels, nobody was really allowed to be around Ohtani. He barely spoke to us. There was this big secrecy around him. And I mean, you know my feeling anyway. These guys are just all guys, they're baseball players. And I don't know why you would protect somebody to that point, and not just on the Angels, but his agent, Major League Baseball. I think he just needed to be one of the guys, and I kind of put the blame on all of those things.
I've heard you talk about this before, how inaccessible he was, and language is a big part of that. You see guys come from the DR, Puerto Rico, South America, they can pick up this language. We can pick that up when we go there. Going from English to Spanish, not a big deal. I even passed it in college.
They teach them English in Japan, though? I mean, he knows English.
Yeah, but it's hard. And I have buddies who've married Japanese women, and some of those guys learn to speak Japanese haltingly, and some just don't. They say, man, this is Doug. Stuff is hard.
I would think Japanese is very hard to learn, but
super hard.
But Ohtani understands everything that we say, by the way. He understands.
I've heard that. I've heard yes. And it's easier to understand and speak. Writing it is off the table.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't know how much is a barrier there, but he's led a private life for 6 years. But I get that, Maria. You're the only person I've talked to in the last 6 years. I don't even talk to my own family. This is it for me. I'm in my basement here. I don't get out.
Well, I mean, everybody has their space. You have the basement.
To each his own. He's led a private life. I don't know. Has that
A
affected it here?
private life to me is one thing, but a sheltered life where you're not supposed to be around people and talk to people. We never saw this guy out anywhere. I didn't know if he ever went to Disneyland the whole time he lived in Anaheim. I mean, they're just normal things. And for there to be any kind of mix up as far as I didn't know what was legal, what wasn't legal, I just
Sure.
I have a hard
Sure,
time.
and that's his best bet, going with that, saying no speak of the English. And I'm wondering how he got married. Like, I've done a bunch of
Yeah,
legal research. I
he
have
did.
scandals here. I've got lists about the untouchable 8 men out. You don't want your name on a list. I learned that from the Untouchables and 8 men
Yeah, you
out.
really don't want
If
that.
there's a list, you do not want your name on it. But how did he, in his sheltered life, how did he get out and meet the woman of his dreams?
Okay, so you know what? When he became a Dodger, I saw him more and heard from him more in a since what was that? November, December, January. From November to now, we heard from him and saw him more than we've ever seen him and learned more about him. He has a dog. Um, all these
What
things
kind of
that
dog, Maria? How much do you know?
I know. I
What kind
mean,
of dog? What's the dog's name?
a
Is it
little
English or
dog, a little
Japanese?
dog, a little dog.
All
Does
right.
that help you?
You know the no? Do you know the name of this
You know
tiny?
what? I do, and I knew you were going to ask me that. I'll think of it. And then he comes out like 3 days into spring training and just says on an Instagram or Twitter or something, says, "I got married," and I'm like, okay, this is odd. And there was like a picture of the dog, and everybody was like, okay. Then they go to Korea, and he gets off the plane with this very attractive Japanese woman, and we find out that she is a big athlete, and they look like the perfect couple. I mean, really adorable. And he said he got married. He didn't really say when, but I think it was like sometime in the off season. He could have been married for the last 5 years. I have no idea. I
Was
mean,
anyone at the wedding? When ball players get married, there's usually, Albert Pujols comes no matter who you are.
no, I think it was a Japanese wedding and it was off the grid. It was off the grid.
Huh. That's
So,
very unusual for a ball player. It's such a clubby sport that you bring
but
guys from the minors or high school
but
teammates.
you got to remember that he didn't participate in all the stuff that the regular guys did. Now he does. I mean, he went to SoFi Stadium last year and attended his first football game, and he's 30 years old and he's never been to an NFL football game. So I think that's a little odd right there. But
You would.
I
There's a
would.
lot of 30-year-olds who've not been to an NFL game. To you, that's off the chart. That makes
James
no
Outman
human
from
sense.
the no James Outman from the Dodgers recently told me last year. He told me that he lived in the Bay Area, grew up in the Bay Area, and I said, okay, Raiders or 49ers, and he was like 49ers. I'm like, oh, have you been to their stadium? And he's like, I've never been to a professional football game before. And I said, okay, you know what? Time out.
Well, you get to get in free, and you get the best seat in the house. For a lot of people, it's a lot of money. You get this pushing and shoving. The
He's
food,
a he's a center
beers are
fielder for the Los
$18.
Angeles Dodgers. He could afford to go.
Well, now we can, but growing up, I mean, it's at food. I've heard.
Oh,
I haven't been to an NFL game in a while. When I do, somebody takes me. But the food and beverages and when I say beverages, I mean beer.
oh yeah,
Extremely expensive.
yeah.
It's gotten nuts. So a
It's too
regular
much.
person to spend a day there are people in Philadelphia who when you go to an Eagles game, the reason they're so feisty and upbeat is they're spending all their disposable income, 100%,
They
on
are.
that event
Right. The
for
same
the
with
year.
the same with the Raider fans. You see them tailgating, and the setups are like stuff you've never seen in your life. But getting back to Ohtani, even though we will be talking about football in the next show,
I can't stop you. I can't stop you.
I know you can't, and it's hard for
Try.
me to not talk about that. But the situation, will he still be able to start the season? I don't know that he's going to play in the Freeway Series tomorrow and the next couple of days, but the season officially starts at Dodger Stadium on Thursday. Will he be in the lineup?
I think so. There's not enough to go on now to do anything wrong, and he's come up with enough confusing stories. And gosh, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. He's come up with enough stuff. If he paid the illegal bookie directly, he's in some trouble. If he had his agent pay the illegal bookie directly, he's got some splaining to do. That's from I Love Lucy, in case you missed
That's
the reference.
great.
That's
Yeah.
explaining to do. But normally the acts of your agent, if taken within the scope of your agency, those are imputed to your principal, the guy who hired the agent. If he's acting outside the scope of things to do, if he's supposed to just be doing the laundry and the in and out run and did the 4.5 million on his own, then Ohtani is not in trouble. So it did it who authorized the release of the money to the agent, and what was Ohtani's deal with Eppei? Those are both important. And if the answers are bad to both of those, he's got some criminal liability. If the answers are good, one or the other, Eppei has some civil liability on one hand, criminal on the other hand. So it could go anywhere from Ohtani skating to being in a big, deep pile of the doo doo.
What about
And
Eppei?
there's not enough to go on yet to suspend him or even do anything yet.
Okay, and that was kind of what I was getting at. So if he, for now, if MLB supposedly is investigating this, we still don't really know. I don't think it's being criminally investigated by the LAPD or anybody like that. But the feds were looking into the bookie in Orange County. I don't know if they're really looking into this case because do they really care when it's not? I don't know. Do they care?
The feds do, and here's how much Major League Baseball wants to suspend Ohtani. Exactly that much.
How much,
Yeah,
Doug?
yeah, it's really little. And when there's trouble, when there's domestic abuse in any sport, what I've noticed in all sports, they always say that's a criminal matter. We're
Right.
going to wait for the justice system. We're going to wait for the justice system to run its course, and a man is innocent until proven guilty. It's in the Constitution, which it's not. It's not in the Constitution. I always get tired of people saying that. It's not. You can look all day. It's not in there, but it's true here. It's just not in the Constitution. Yeah, you are innocent until proven guilty, and commissioners in all the major sports love to say, yeah, no comment. It's a judicial matter. Got it. So the FBI is looking at that, and uh, I was thinking about this earlier. The FBI, those guys are just regular guys. I if I play softball with these guys, you live in DC, you hang out with these guys. They have hockey teams, you play with them. They're just regular guys. They don't alarm me. They're not horrible monsters, but they are good at what they do. And
Right.
when they're onto something, they have subpoena power, they have investigatory powers. They have been inside Shohei's bank account now. They know what he likes on his In-N-Out burger. They can tell by the charge to In-N-Out what toppings he's had. They know whether he's had the shake or not. They may have had to go and ask at the In-N-Out burger whether it's chocolate, vanilla, half and half. They may have had to drag it out of an employee, but they can get all that. The feds, they will get whatever they want, and he will have no privacy when this is done. But we're not there yet. It's going to take time to do that, and baseball gets to say, and we get to the All-Star break before anything happens at all.
Interesting. That was my next question is how long do you think that MLB will investigate this?
As little as possible for as long as possible because of that. I can't stress enough that.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Very, very, very
There
tiny.
you go. No, your fingers were too far apart
Oh,
there.
they were. That's right. I'm sorry. They need to
There
be
you go. Yeah.
together.
You got to force the blood out. Yeah.
Now you know that tomorrow at Dodger Stadium, everybody will be. I don't even think Shohei will be anywhere where we can see him because there's so many places you can hide in Dodger Stadium. And I'm sure they will. But the Angels are coming. The Angels are involved in this because supposedly there were some former Angel players that were gambling. We don't
Yes.
know any of this for sure, but that were kind of cited in these articles. But I think the questions are going to be, did you know anything? And everybody's question is going to be, I don't know anything. I have nothing to say, or I have nothing to say about this situation. There's an ongoing investigation, which seems to be everybody's favorite thing to say.
And what is in the Constitution is the Fifth Amendment, which is that no person can be compelled to provide testimony against themselves. So if someone comes, if I'm hanging out with Ohtani and we were going to this bookie, and first off, I'm not saying anything to a reporter, but if the FBI guy comes, my softball buddies show up and say, I want to know what you and Ohtani did with his bookie, and I want you to tell me right now. I'd say, God, I'd like to talk to you, but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna.
Isn't
So
it better? It's better for him though. Also, that according to the bookie said he's never seen Ohtani, talked to Ohtani, that it was always Ippei, and Ohtani had nothing to do with the money coming through. As far as he never spoke to Ohtani. In other words, Ohtani didn't call him up and say, hey, I know Ippei's in trouble. So according to the guy who the money went to, he never dealt with Ohtani.
And that may be true, but getting back to the agency, if Ippei was doing this on behalf of Ohtani and Ohtani did that on purpose, it's the same. The agency flows right through, and Ohtani picks up every last little bit of criminal liability that Ippei had.
What kind of criminal liability?
Whatever you guys in California dream up. I'm not licensed there, so I don't know. You guys come down hard on pretty much everything, though. You're pretty brutal out there. I'll tell you that.
But nobody goes to jail out here. I don't know what we're brutal about.
No, your speeding tickets. I'm not saying how I know this, but those are high.
Well, they just want your money. That's it.
Yeah, they have it.
For Ippei, is he going to jail for stealing the money?
Well, if he stole it, then he's only going if Shohei wants him to go. Shohei can say, yeah, we're buds. I'm going to let that go, and that would be the end of it in terms of criminal liability for Ippei taking the money from Shohei. What he did with that money, if he used it to bet illegally, used it to bet with the bookie, and that's illegal under California law, or he hired a hitman or did something else illegal with it, that's on him. That's just him doing it with the money from whatever source.
Okay.
And reflect back on Ohtani. So if Ohtani wants to give him the money and let it go at that, even if he used it for an illegal purpose, he's not in trouble as long as Ohtani didn't know that's what he was doing, or jump him out of it and go directly pay his debt directly, knowing that it was a gambling debt and that it was going to an illegal activity. Then he's in trouble.
So is it we just talked about the fact that this will probably go on for a period of time. If Ohtani can prove, yes, he did have access to my accounts, I didn't know what was happening, isn't it better to just say that? Because then he could be completely free of this. Yes? No?
Yes, then he's completely free. Here comes the bus, and there goes Ippei underneath it.
Well, he's already been fired.
Well, yeah, but now there's still pending possible criminal liability, and I've been loving this website on Facebook, the Baseball Factory, did a great takedown of this today. Started when the news came out saying we are witnessing what is the beginning of the greatest cover up of all time. And that's certainly one way to look at this. If they keep doing that and decide to insulate Ohtani and they can get away with that and heave Ippei under that streaming bus, he's in trouble. But he's got to stand for that. And it's a really good buddy if he takes the fall for him. My goodness. But if at some point he goes, all right, I was willing to be a good sport here, but Shohei knew I'm placing his bets. So I don't know. I have no idea how this is going to go. But it could be again anywhere from everybody skates to everybody goes down.
Doug, tomorrow's going to be an interesting day because it'll be the first time anybody's been back in Dodger Stadium since this all came out. And like I said, I don't think that Shohei will talk. Of course, everybody will ask Dave Roberts. They'll ask everybody and anybody that they can talk to, and everybody will just say, it's an ongoing investigation. I don't know anything.
And you guys are certainly going to be told not to ask about it. And I know you won't do that. It annoys me when journalists do stuff they know they shouldn't be doing, like when they're yelling at the president of the United States, did you shoot him? There's stupid journalism, and we're going to see a lot of stupid journalism tomorrow.
We absolutely, yes,
I know you won't be doing any of it.
Well, no, because I'll be observing, and to me, the best journalism is talking to other people to find out what they've heard, what they know, other journalists, other people around. I mean, I would like to have a conversation with Ohtani's lawyer, but I'm sure I'm going to get that same answer of there's an ongoing investigation.
I meant to look them up, and his law firm, they named the law firm, and I had not heard of it. I think it's a small operation, and boy, I hope they're up to this, because this is big. And if they're a small operation, I haven't seen anything like this. This is a new kind of scandal, and it's as high profile as high gets. And I hope these guys are up to it.
Is this a big scandal?
Yeah, and I have one of my good buddies I used to work with at the Justice Department, Matt Rosengart, is Britney Spears' lawyer, and I think a situation like this, you need a Rosengart. I think Britney is keeping Matthew pretty busy.
He probably doesn't have time to deal with anybody else.
Yeah, no, and he's got other stuff going on. But you need someone in the entertainment business, someone who's got criminal experience. You need a Rosengart. You need somebody somebody big.
The story will continue. I truly believe that the truth will come out. So I hope that it's just smooth sailing for Ohtani, especially if he is truly, truly not guilty of anything and he is the victim in all of this. I hope that comes out as well. And I just feel like cover-ups almost never stay covered.
That's what most people go down for. It's what cost Nixon. But I tell you, Ohtani's swing is looking sweet. If we can get back to baseball for a second.
Okay, my last baseball question to you is will this mentally will he be able to focus on baseball again?
Yeah, he seems strong enough. No, Ohtani does not seem affected. He's maybe he's oblivious to all this. Maybe he speaks less English than we think. But
No,
I don't
English.
know.
He understands it very, very well.
Okay, but his swing looks good, Maria. Swing looks good.
Okay, well, if his swing looks good, the Dodgers win games, maybe this won't be such a big, huge thing as it is right now.
Can you imagine being a Dodgers owner, being part of the ownership group, and
No.
seeing this happen? You'd be like, "Oh, we landed Ohtani. Where life is good. The money's deferred. Maybe we're just going to declare bankruptcy and get this guy for $2 million a year instead of 70." And
And you
then
wake
this,
up and you hear this. It's
yeah,
like, what just happened?
going back to bed, going back to bed.
All right, Doug Hughes, get ready because the story is going to get bigger. Thank you so much for jumping on today. And there's going to be more down the road, guys. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Maria Serrao with Doug Hughes, and we will see you next time.